We are just waiting for more people to join in. And we are looking forward to an exciting session with Hemant Divte and Mustansir Dalvi. Thank you so much for joining on time. Let us wait for a couple of minutes, maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes, for Hemant to join us. He is going to be the first poet to recite today, and he has told us that he is presenting some of his absolutely new poems, which is very exciting because coming from Hemant, it is going to be something that is very, very exciting. So Hemant has now joined us, and I will now add him to this video. Can you hear me, Hemant? Hi, Hemant. कसे आहात?
बस ठीक. Thank you very much.
ऐकू येत आहे ना नीट?
Oh, all well.
So, yes, wonderful. So let us begin. I will first read out Hemant's brief bio, and then Hemant will begin to recite his poems. Hemant Divte is a poet, editor, publisher, and translator. He needs no introduction, but we are doing it for formality's sake. He is the founder editor of the Marathi little magazine Abhidha Nantar, which was published uninterruptedly for 16 years. Abhidha Nantar has been credited for providing a solid platform to new poets and for enriching the post-90s Marathi literary scene. He is credited with changing the Marathi literary scene through Abhidha Nantar and the Indian English poetry scene through his imprint Poetry Wala. He is the author of 6 poetry collections in Marathi. Divte's poems have been translated into French, Italian, Slovak, Japanese, Persian, Maltese, Serbian, and a bunch of other languages, including many Indian languages. In translation, he has a book each in at least 7 or 8 languages. His poems figure in numerous anthologies in Marathi and English, and he has participated in a number of international and Indian literary festivals across the globe. His publishing house, Paperwall Publishing, has published under its imprint Poetry Wala more than 100 poetry collections. Ladies and gentlemen, Hemant Divte. आता हेमंत दिवटे आपल्या कविता सादर करतील.
Thank you very much, Suhit. I'm actually going to read all these poems in Marathi, and 2 of these poems, which are translated by Mustansir, he will read it in the second half of this program. These poems are the newest poems. There are some political nuances also, which are hidden, and maybe people, you will understand if you understand Marathi. If not, maybe in near future, after the lockdown is completely over and we get the vaccine, we'll be all able to meet each other, and I'll be able to face you all in person. So I'm going to read my first poem. This is a Mumbai poem, actually. Life in Mumbai. The name of the poem is Paranoia. This has 4 parts, and I'll maybe straight away read all the poems together. घोषणा माझ्यापर्यंत आल्याच नाहीत, ना आल्या प्रति घोषणा. फक्त धडाधड दार बंद होत गेली, खिडक्या बंद होत गेल्या. धडाधडा डाऊन झाली शटर्स. हिंदू मटन शॉप मध्ये टांगलेली बकऱ्याची बॉडी उतरली. रान बाजारातल्या बाया आणि भडवे गायब झाले. ऑमलेट पाववाला तव्याखालचा स्टोव बंद करून गायब झाला. शिव वडापाववाला वंटासला गेला. एशियाटिक समोरचा भेलपुरीवाला चर्च गेटात घुसला. तंबाखू पानवाल्या जगदीशने सरकवली महापरात आरे खाली. टिंबला टिंब टिंबला पाय लावून मीही पळणार होतो, पण सत्याच्या तव्यावरचं सनी साइड अप हाफ फ्राय पावामध्ये घालायचं बाकी होतं. भूक खूप मोठी आणि लांब असते. जिंदगी सारखी स्वतःच्या आईची टिंब टिंब करून भोगायला लागते. 2. आवाज येतायत कानातून जसा रातकिडा अडकलाय कानात. जीवाच्या आकांताने तो आणि मी एकमेकांच्या तावडीतून सुटण्याचा प्रयत्नात आहोत. बाबरी कुरतडल्यापासून. घरात असो वा घराबाहेर, मृत्यू आणि त्याची दहशत करणारच आपला पाठलाग. आणि वेळ आली तर होणारच आहे खेळवा खल्लास. मुंबईत जगायचं तर जगायलाच लागतं. टिंब टिंब फाटस्तोवर फाटण्याच्या इंतजारात. सततच्या दहशतीची सवय एक व्यसन आहे कधीही न सुटणार. एकदा ते लागलं तर पुन्हा कधी ते सुटत नाही. 3. मुंबईच्या पोटात घुसलो तेव्हापासून एक अजगराचं पिल्लू माझ्यात घुसलं. हळूहळू मोठं होत गेलं. त्या अजगराच्या पोटाची आग मस्तकातल्या आगीपेक्षा भीषण असल्याचं कळेपर्यंत माझ्यातला माणूस मरून गेला. 4. आवाज येतायत कानातून आणि मी भाड्याबद्दल विचार करतोय. भेंडीचा भाव वाढलाय. बहुतेक दंगल भडकली असावी भेंडी बाजारात. मी काय गुन्हा केलाय की सारखे सारखे भास होतायत मला की बॉम्बस्फोट होणार आहेत आत्ताच मॉलच्या पार्किंग मध्ये. प्रश्न पडतात उगाचच की अचानक मटणाचे भाव का कमी झालेत. अचानक फुटपाथ वरच्या पॉन सिड्यांचे भाव का कमी झालेत. अचानक मुंबई मटका खेळणारे हिंदू मुस्लिम का खेळू लागलेत. मुझफ्फरपूरच्या दंग्यात परवाच पोचलेला सलमान कसा मेला. कानात आवाज होत असताना एका पाठोपाठ एक गाड्या येतात भयानक किंचाळ्यांनी भरभरून आणि चुपचाप गोधराच्या आठवणी देऊन जातात. किंकाळ्या येतात या अल्लाह, आरोळ्या येतात जय श्रीराम. या अल्लाह परवरदिगार श्रीराम जयराम होऊन जातात कानात कप्पे नाहीत. कानात फक्त आवाज राहतात आणि मनात दहशतीच्या आठवणी.
वाह वाह. हे किती आजचं आहे हेमंत. मला खूप आवडली ही कविता.
हा आजची म्हणजे आता मी ते बॉम्बस्फोट पण बघितलेले आहेत मुंबईतले.
हो.
त्याच्यापासून तर जे काही गेले अडवाणींनी जोपर्यंत देवापासून रथयात्रा काढली आहे त्याच्याबद्दलचा छोटासा वृत्तांतच आहे हा, असं समज.
वा 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 वा. छान छान.
मी आता त्या एवढ्या भयानक मूड मधून दुसऱ्या मूड मध्ये जातो. जरा एक प्रेमाची कविता.
क्या बात है.
उदासी की तरह. थोडक्यात आपली कंडिशन दरम्यानची असते. तू तुझी बोट माझ्या पाठीत रुतवतेस आणि त्याचा अर्थही. हा नियमित धुवाधार बरसणारा नैतिक अनैतिकतेच्या दरम्यानचा ताजा आवाज येऊ लागलाय अचानकच हाडांमधून. खर तर तू व्यस्त प्रमाणात असतेस माझी जेमतेम आणि स्वतःची जितपत जमेल तितपत. तरीही डोळ्यातल्या डोळ्यातून एक थेंब परत तो न बरसता, तेव्हा तू स्वतःला कोमेजून ठेवतेस उदासी की तरह इस पार. स्वतःच्या कोशात अस्ताव्यस्त आणि मी हाडं तुटल्यासारखा हतबल उदासी के उस पार करीत तुझा इंतजार, पुन्हा पुन्हा इंतजार.
वाह.
ही मला अचानक आठवलं, पहिल्यांदाच वाचतोय की
फारच
आता
छान, फारच छान.
वाचताना असं मला वाटलं हे प्रेमाची कविता आहे की काय मारामारीची आहे. असं स्वतःला शोक असा.
फारच सुंदर कविता आहे आणि त्याच्यात उर्दूही आल्यामुळे एक वेगळाच लहेजा निर्माण होतो.
ते आपण मुंबईत सगळं बोलतो ना कायम,
खरंच आहे,
वेगवेगळ्या भाषा त्या आपोआप तशा येतात. साधे शब्द आहेत ते, खरं म्हटलं तर
खरंच आहे, खरंच
ते
आहे.
आपोआपच येतात. आपण तसंच बोलत राहतो ना, म्हणून.
हो.
आता ही मोडी लिपी. आता आपण काळाच्या अशा झोक्यासमोर उभे आहोत की ज्याची भयानक लाथ बसणार आहे सगळ्याच भाषेतल्या कवींना. आत्मसमाधान एवढंच उरणार आहे की जगभर पसरलेल्या हिंस्र आगीतला पोएटिक जाळ कुणाला घेता येणारे स्वतःच्या भाषेत ओरबाडून.
वाह.
ही कवी म्हणून असलेली कविता आहे.
हो.
काय काय केलं पाहिजे मी स्वतःसाठी, आणि मी माझ्यासाठी लिहिलेली कविता वाचून दाखवतो. कदाचित त्यातून कोणाला काही मिळालं तर.
खरंच आहे. नाही, सुंदर सुंदर कविता आहे, फारच सुंदर कविता आहे.
आता ही माझी शेवटची कविता, आणि त्यानंतर मी एक मुस्तनशीरची कविता ऐकवणार आहे, मी अनुवादित केलेली. तर सध्या ही माझी कविता, वडील पटकन मरून. एक, ही पण छोटे छोटे असे भाग आहेत, तिचे पण 6 भाग आहेत छोटे. मी हे भाग आता बोलणार नाही, डायरेक्टली सगळी कविता वाचून घेईन. लहानपणी पाहिलंय वडिलांना हातावर विंचवासारखं चालताना, आणि मोठ्या मुलांबरोबर घोडी खेळताना. इकडे आपल्या इन्स्टावर सलील त्रिपाठी आपला मित्र आहे, तर त्याला हे घोडी खेळताना म्हणजे कळेल की काय असायचं ते. तर लहानपणी पाहिलंय वडिलांना हातावर विंचवासारखं चालताना, मोठ्या मुलांबरोबर घोडी खेळताना, आणि रिटायरमेंट नंतरच्या स्ट्रोकने झटकन त्यांचं आयुष्य थांबताना. ना हातापायात राहिलंय बळ, ना त्यांच्या शरीरात. खातानाही अर्धा घास खाली पडतो नकळत, नकळत तोल जाऊन बसल्या जागी कोसळतात ते कधी. वारंवार बोललेलेही त्यांचं समजत नाही आम्हाला. जगण्याला कंटाळलेला अस्वस्थ माणूस झालेत ते, आणि त्यांच्या क्षणोक्षणी कणाकणाने जगण्याला कंटाळलेलो आम्ही सुद्धा.
वाह.
8 वेळेला माझा फोन वाजला की मी दचकून उठतो. मला वाटत राहत कायमच की हा फोन असेल वडील गेल्याचा, किंवा वडील जागच्या जागी पडलेत, फेफरं भरल्यासारखे करतायत, किंवा पडून त्यांनी डोळे फिरवलेत, किंवा माई स्वयंपाकघरात असताना हॉलमध्ये ते पडलेत आणि त्यांचं डोकं फुटलंय, रक्त वाहतय. भांबावलेल्या माईला कसा कळेल टेबलाखाली घरंगळत गेलेल्या मेंदूचे आणि सोफ्याजवळ पडलेल्या वडिलांचे कनेक्शन, किंवा ते टॉयलेटमध्ये कोसळून त्यांचा मेंदू पॉट मध्ये पडलाय आणि माईच्या अनावधानाने चुकून फ्लश झालंय टॉयलेट, मग माझ्या मेंदूचं काय होईल? आणि मला वाटत राहतं वडील पटकन मरून जावेत, वडिलांच्याही नकळत. अचानक कळतं मला की वडील आराम खुर्चीत बसलेत, क्रिकेट मॅच बघत, आणि इंडिया जिंकल्याच्या खुशीत पटकन मरून गेलेत. सेम माझ्या वाटण्यासारखे, अगदी कुणाच्याही नकळत, अगदी कुणाच्याही नकळत.
वाह 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 वाह.
ही मुस्तनशीरची मी ट्रान्सलेट केलेली कविता
अच्छा.
माझ्या स्टाईल मध्ये. मला एक कायम वाटत आलेलं आहे, म्हणजे हे माझं समाधान म्हणून की काय माहित नाही, पण मला वाटत आलेलं आहे की प्रत्येक चांगला कवी, म्हणजे मी एवढा चांगला नाही तरी सुद्धा म्हणतो की प्रत्येक चांगला कवी कुठल्या तरी दुसऱ्या कवीचं चांगलं त्याच्या भाषेमध्ये ट्रान्सलेट करतो. म्हणजे इट इज लाईक पोएट, इफ यू आर ए गुड पोएट, यू आर ए गुड ट्रान्सलेटर ऑल्सो, अँड फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू मस्ट बी ट्रान्सलेटर ऑल्सो.
क्या बात.
असं नाही की बाबा मी कवी झालो आणि संपलं, असं होत नाही. चांगला कवी कुठल्या तरी दुसऱ्या कवीचं ट्रान्सलेट करतोच करतो.
वाह.
तर हा मी प्रयत्न केलेला आहे. माझी
क्या बात
ट्रान्सलेशन, मी स्वतः ट्रान्सलेट केलेल्या 2 पुस्तकं आहेत, पण प्रत्येक ट्रान्सलेशन हा प्रयत्न असतो आणि तो सफलच असतो असं नाही. तर माझा प्रयत्न, कवितेचं नाव आहे वटाण्या. बाबू गेणू दगड फोडे, बाबू गेणू दगड फोडे, फोडे सोलतोय वटाणे, सांडते त्याची साल त्याच्या सभोवताली. 8/29 बेलापूर मधल्या नजरांची ना त्याला फिकीर ना चिंता. तो बायको बद्दल विचार करतो आणि सोलत बसतो शेंगा. बाबूचं त्याच्या सुमतीवर प्रेम आहे, तसं तिचंही आहे, किंवा तसा तो विचार करतो, पण त्यानं ते अजून शान कन्फर्म नाही केलाय. फुलकोबी सोलताना वा फरसबी निवडताना त्याच्या धडपडीनेच ट्रेन पोहोचते बेलापूरला. त्याला कशाने मिळत असावं असीम सुख? शेंगांच्या होणाऱ्या पॉक अशा आवाजाने, की नाजूक वाटण्याचं त्याच्या हातावरच होणाऱ्या हिरव्या विस्फोटाने, की बेढब हिरव्या छोट्या रसरशीत वटाण्याला त्याने तोंडात टाकल्याने. बायकोच्या आठवणींचा लवलेशही नसलेला बाबू गेणू जोपर्यंत घरी पोहोचतो तोपर्यंत त्याने फस्त केलेले असतात पावशेर वाटाणे. बाबू गेणू त्याच्या पोपटी बोटांनी बेल मारतो. बाबू गेणू त्याच्या पोपटी बोटांनी बेल मारतो. त्याच्या हिरवटलेल्या बत्तीशीने ग्रीट करतो बायकोला. सुमती बाबूच्या ह्या ध्यानाला पाहते, पण प्रेम करते ती तिच्या बावळट मिस्टरवर, विचार करत की त्याचंही तिच्यावर तेवढंच प्रेम आहे, पण तिने ते अजून शान कन्फर्म नाही केलाय.
अप्रतिम अप्रतिम.
थँक्यू.
फारच.
हा मुस्तनशीर अशाच, काय मी त्याला म्हणत असतो कायम, तू मराठी लोकांसारखे इंग्रजी कविता लिहितो. म्हणजे आम्ही मराठी लोक एवढे वर्ष आहे की काय 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 आमच्या कवितेत दुःख असेल तिथेच कुठेतरी पटकन असं मध्येच काहीतरी असं हसण्यासारखं काहीतरी असतं. आणि अशी म्हणजे वेगवेगळ्या लोकांची वेगवेगळी आहे पद्धत. तर मी त्याला काय म्हणत असतो की तू इंग्रजीत कविता लिहितोस म्हणजे त्या मला वाटतं तू डोक्यात मराठीतच लिहित असतो बहुतेक असं. तर आपण मी तुझे तर आभार मानतोच, पण विनीता अगरवालचे, पेन ॲट पृथ्वीचे आणि रणजित होसकोटेचे पण आभार मानले पाहिजेत, कारण तोच ह्याच्या सगळ्याचा मागे आहे.
खरंच.
धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद हेमंत.
Hope you all enjoyed my Marathi poetry reading.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hemant. Thank you for reading out your lovely work and your amazing translation as well.
Thank you. Bye.
I'd now like to invite Mustansir Dalvi to join me on this Instagram live. Here we go. Mustansir, hi. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me too?
Absolutely loud and clear. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Is there an echo?
No, there is no echo.
All right. Wonderful.
So I'll just read out Mustansir's brief bio before we hear his wonderful, wonderful work. Mustansir Dalvi is an Anglophone poet, translator, and editor. He has 2 books of poems in English, Brouhahas of Cox and Cosmopolitician, both by Poetry-Wala. His poems are included in numerous anthologies edited by literary luminaries, and his influential translation of Muhammad Iqbal's Shikwa and Jawab-e-Shikwa from the issue as taking issue and Allah's answer, Penguin Classics, has been described as insolent and heretical and makes Iqbal's verse accessible to the modern reader. His translations, he has also translated the Sufi mystic poet Rahim, and he has translated the poems of Hemant Devte from the Marathi and struggles with imagined gods. He is also the editor of Man Without a Navel, a collection of new and selected translations of Hemant Devte's poems from the Marathi. Mustansir Dalvi teaches architecture in Mumbai. And thank you so much for joining us, Mustansir, and I now invite you to read out from your work.
Thank you, Suhit. I think Hemant is always a very hard act to follow, and one would feel that you can give him my time as well so that he can read out some more of his wonderful new poems. But since I have to read, I think I shall do that. So to establish a kind of continuity between his poems and mine, I will first read out my own poem that he just translated, which you all heard as Batania. The poem is called Peabody, and
wonderful.
My first collection of poems called Brouhahas of Cox. So Peabody. Babu Genu Dagad Fode shells peas, dropping the husk in a radius about his feet, unconcerned by stairs in the 839 to Belapur. He thinks of his wife and picks another pod. Babu loves his Sumati and she him, or so he hopes, but has never verified. De-leafing a cauliflower, pulling strings of French beans, his homecoming flurries drive the train on. Which gives him the greater pleasure, the soft pop of a pod, peas exploding on his palm in green orgasm, or uncovering a misshapen pearl, tiny, succulent, that he tucks away in his mouth. With scarcely a thought for his missus, by the time he is home, Babu Genu will deplete a third of his load, ring his doorbell with green fingers, and greet his wife with emerald teeth. Sumati sees, but just the same, she loves her Mishtar. She thinks he loves her too, but has never verified.
Wow. It's absolutely brilliant. It's always a pleasure to hear this poem from you. And I must say that Hemant's translation was absolutely spot on in my humble opinion.
In my humble opinion, is better than the original.
Did you catch the part where Hemant was saying that Mustansi, he said half jokingly that you write English poems the way that Marathi poets write Marathi poems, which is a high compliment.
I did, and I cannot think of a better compliment than that, actually.
Absolutely, absolutely so. Yeah. Absolutely so, absolutely so.
So, in gratitude, I shall read two translations of Hemant's poems, both of which you just heard. The first is Udasi Ki Tarah, is the love poem, and I have kept the title the same, Udasi Ki Tarah. In short, our condition is one of distance and of distances left over. When you trace your fingers along my spine, you trace in their meaning too. There is a fresh pulse that Doppler shifts between the righteous and the unprincipled, like a regular outburst that all of a sudden resonates from my bones. In truth, you remain largely preoccupied, managing somehow as much as can be managed, my affairs and your own, and yet the droplet makes its way back to the tear duct, unprecipitated, while you, Udasi Ki Tarah, on the near side, wilt yourself awkwardly into your own hideaway. And in the next moment, I, incapacitated like a cripple, only wait for you on the far side of sadness.
Wow. What a lovely translation.
Thank you. There's a poem that very interestingly resonates with this, which I have written, and this is in my second book. I'll read it out because it just kind of, made the connection. The name of this poem is, You Said You Would Kill It This Morning. You said you would kill it this morning. It's still around. It crawls. I scrape my back against door frames, pinch impossibly below flesh. It keeps moving. It's still around. Why didn't you kill it this morning? I pull out stops, reach in with bare hand to squeeze life right out of the speck. With swiveling thumb, I leave a mark and an even bigger bruise upon you. You said you would heal it by morning. It's still around. It throbs. This sore imprint is my angry child, grabs full attention, brooks no denial. I cannot sleep in this impatient dawn. Heal it this morning. Let it subside. You said you would. It's still around.
Wow. Absolutely wonderful.
And one more by Hemant. This is a very lovely poem which he wrote, which is called Father's Instant Demise. Father's Instant Demise. The father I knew as a child, walking scorpion-like on his hands, teaching his elder son to walk on stilts, and the father stymied all of a sudden post-retirement after a stroke. No strength left in his limbs nor in his body, eating barely anything, losing his balance, falling down unknowingly, slumping sometime, right where he sat, making no sense even when he tried to speak to us again and again. An ill man, weary of his life, and seeing him live like this, wearing down slowly, moment by moment, we too were soon sick of it all. Now I wake with a start whenever the phone rings unexpectedly, always fearing this to be the harbinger of father's demise, or of news that he has fallen where he stood, or lying prone, wheezing like a tuberculotic, eyes rolled back in his head, or having taken a dive when mother was busy in the kitchen, cracked his skull enough to make blood flow. How could my confused mother make the connection between father, motionless by the sofa, and his brains rolled under the table? Or maybe, having collapsed in the toilet, his brains floating, sploshed in the pot, and as if by rote, mother pulling the flush. And then what would happen? And I would always pray that he would go quickly, even before he realized it. Then, in a flash, it comes to me, father sitting contentedly in his armchair, watching the cricket, so pleased with India's victory that he passed away in an instant, just like the answer to my prayers, even before anyone realized.
Wow. Absolutely poignant.
It is. It's a wonderfully poignant poem. Okay. So perhaps I should read some of my own now, right? I'd like to begin with a relatively new poem, which kind of comes from my memories of living in a chawl, which I did for almost a decade, and is crossed with my current situation of having water problems where I stay in New Bombay. You will probably recognize the fragrance that is referenced here in the title. The name of the poem is Hammam Soap.
I remember this one, lovely.
Hammam Soap. The municipal tap burbles like a didgeridoo for a full half hour before showing the slightest signs of incontinence. Cued to rattling pipes, the building shakes itself awake. All rise as one, reach for buckets, taps are tapped, vigils formed. With each drip, hearts flutter. Righteousness is played out in a synesthesia of lather and foam, of head baths and bowel movements. In passages, toranas of towels align, fresh with familiar green exhalations, deep from the armpit of Manilal mansion.
Wow. You've just described what is the current reality for a lot of people.
Well, now that you mention it, yes, that is exactly what it is. So, how should we go on?
Would you like to read a few more?
Yeah, sure. And maybe some from my new book, Cosmopolitan. I'm going to pick poems as they present themselves. I think that's probably the way to go about it.
May I request you to show us the wonderfully designed cover of your second book?
Here you go.
That's absolutely fantastic, and you know, it's a lovely cover. It's a very, very well designed cover, and the photographs has a story behind it. But maybe that's for another day.
Well, yes, the photograph has a story behind it, but that poem is a bit long and
Yes.
part of a longer cycle. So
Yes.
perhaps, as you said, another day.
Yes, yes.
But what I can do is once again, referencing the location I'm in, which is New Bombay, I'll read a poem located in Vashi,
Wow.
and about something that you had mentioned also, and something that is an annual feature in this part of the city, which is the arrival of flamingos.
Absolutely.
The name of this poem is Candy Floss. Candy Floss, hawked at Vashi, is 50 shades pinker than the flamingo's wing as she stands like Ian Anderson, foppishly upright in Thane Creek. Scruffy as her surroundings, malodorous as fuming mangroves that pick lenticel out of miasmic soup, she stands with her flock, germinating from the mud. The overcast sky mutes pink to grey, thousands as one spread themselves out in the shallows. Every portent of precipitation is present, but it does not rain. I wait for movement, for the glorious synchronic soar, for the firmament to turn rose, for my heart to lurch out of my mouth, springing into one unforgiving minute of happy disorder. But the universe is stubborn, and I will have to content myself with a plastic bag filled with the hair of a hag at Vashi station.
Wow. I remember this image very, very vividly. Because although I never saw the flamingos of New Bombay, I did see the plastic bags as the train was crossing Vashi Creek, and the smell of the mangroves, of course. But so thank you so much for that poem. It brings back a lot of memories for me as well as I'm sure other people.
And this Candy Floss, or as we used to call it, Buddhi Ka Baal,
Buddhi Ka Baal.
yeah, was the one thing that, our parents always frowned upon when we tried to ask for that when we were kids. So there's all
Yes.
the more reason why there is this desire to have it.
Absolutely.
At the age of 55, I could finally fulfill that desire. Of all places, in a street in Cairo.
क्या बात है, क्या बात है. And did you enjoy it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. This next poem is called Janus Takes a Selfie. And I had written this for my friend and poet Sampurna Chatterjee. Janus takes a selfie. Behind you, chalk turns to cloud. Lime effloresces on wet walls, marking time for daubing pigment, fastening hue. Behind you, the doppelganger stares behind you, holding on to the power cord of possibility and restraint. Janus squats by your head, in your head. Behind you, the gossamer wire appears thick as ropes that harness clippers to shore or stymie the Archaeopteryx from the ionosphere. Behind you, in Plato's zoetrope, fires cast unbidden shadows, spinning reality like Muybridge sequences as you smile in my direction. Behind you, the taxidermist pride in orange and blue is nailed ungently on the head of the boy who awaits resolution. Behind you is perched a kingfisher, not an albatross. Take off, do the triple Lindy, dive into the shallow pool, choose your prey.
Wow.
And how are we for time?
It's 6:38, so we have budgeted for about a 45-minute session. So we have about 6 odd minutes to go.
All right. So I
So
think
I
perhaps
think there is time for.
either would you like me to read or would you like to have a chat? It's up to you.
What would you like to do? I mean, the floor is absolutely yours. So if you would want to read a couple of poems more, I would be totally, I would be very grateful.
Okay, let me see. Okay, this is a poem which I wrote in Marseille, and that was a wonderful event a few years back when Hemant, Sampurna, and I were part of a poetry exchange where we had to translate poems from French poets, and the French poets translated our poems. And we were situated in this absolutely wonderful old building, which was like a cloistered kind of space with a central church, which was very unique because it had an oval dome, which is a very unusual thing for a European building, an almost Baroque kind of space. And in the past, this space had been kind of hospice and a kind of asylum, for the for people with all sorts of disabilities and so on. But at this point in time, when we were there, one part of it had been converted into a center for international poetry, which is the most wonderful kind of thing. And it brings up all sorts of metaphors, just the thought of it. And
Absolutely.
This poem emerged from and I just see that Danish Hussain has asked for it. So this is for you, Danish. The hospice for malnourished poets. The mention in this is of one Pierre Puget, who is the architect of this beautiful space and the church. The hospice for malnourished poets. Did you know, Pierre Puget, that your choice of an elliptical dome, lopsided like a Baroque pearl, was the only appropriate shape for the ellipsis of its postulants? You saved us, Pierre Puget, giving an axis to a circle, turning possibility into inevitability, eliminating graves, alleviating lunacy. Imagine a madman searching desperately for a quiet corner in a perfect circle. Your twisted fawn needs caring, saving like a beast soon to be extinct, brought to safety in this preserve for fools and the tangential. I am his brother. Filial genes form my inescapable imprint. I come as a petitioner, Pierre Puget, to La Hospice de la Charité, where for 3 centuries, those who would give their all to chew on seeds of flax and lick limestone walls for spice would find nourishment in cloisters. Hunger and madness, a hungry madness, a madness for hunger, a hunger for madness, all granted space. I stumble up the stairs of the Passage de Lorette and down the Rue du Petit Puy, collapse at the flaming gates. I need tending. I chirp like a chick for a regurgitated bolus from the pipet beak of mother bird. In this hospice for malnourished poets, Puget, I come to be purged.
Wow. Wonderful, wonderful.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Absolutely wonderful.
And I really must thank you for inviting Hemant and me to do this first event. And I'm really looking forward to the ones that are subsequent.
Thank you so much. And I would also like to inform the people who have kindly attended this online session that we plan to have these online and virtual sessions every month on the first Saturday of every month at this time, which is 6 to 6:45 p.m. And we will be having them mostly on Instagram Live. But for further information, please stay tuned to our account. And we plan to bring out various formats. We will have poetry, but also other forms that are amenable to this medium, to the online and virtual medium. Meanwhile, I would really like to thank Hemant Divte and Mustansir Dalvi for giving us their time in this and presenting their wonderful, wonderful work for us. I will be recording this.
Yeah, may I in turn thank you, Vinita and Pen at Prithvi for organizing this, and thank you also for recording this. It's nice to have this even later.
Absolutely. So thank you all for attending. I will now close these proceedings. Please feel free to view the video at your leisure and pass on the word. We are now live. Bye-bye.
Thank you.